Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, Season 2, Episode 3. My name is Eddie Rivka, and I'm joined, as always, by my dear friend Joe Payne from the Las Vegas Advisor. And just before we turned on the camera, we decided that we were going to call this episode the Eichel Effect. So before we get into that and talk all about the trade and who won the trade and the fact that there even was a trade, let's go back a little bit to the seemingly mounting amount of publicity about the trade. And I wonder, Joe, do you think that it affected the Golden Knights' play at the beginning of this road trip? Because
100%.
certainly
100%.
They
100% in Toronto. 100%. The team, I don't want to say the team. There were certain players, I don't want to mention a specific name, but it rhymes with Theodore.
Wait, what rhymes with Theodore? Oh, Theodore. Okay. I missed that.
There were a lot of names that were thrown about, and Shea Theodore happened to be one of them. Especially when they signed Whitecloud, Theodore had to hear the footsteps, so to speak. Maybe he was actually going to be part of the package that was going to Buffalo in exchange for Jack Eichel, and his play, I think, showed it. He just was, in my opinion, squeezing the stick. When you look at his play tonight in the game in Ottawa, he looked a lot more relaxed. He set up Howden on a really nice cross-ice pass for Howden's first goal was a Vegas goal tonight. He looked better tonight, 100% better than he did in Toronto the other night. And call it crazy, but I think it's the Eichel effect. I think the fact that he now realizes that, I mean, anything could happen throughout the trade deadline, but I think this was a stumbling block for Theodore to get over with. I thought he thought that it was a good possibility he was going to be part of the package that went to upstate New York.
Well, I think the concerning thing was that 10 games into this Golden Knights season, 2 of them have been absolute flushes. And although Ottawa is certainly no Toronto Maple Leafs, it was a good win for them tonight, 5-1 in Ottawa. They've never lost in Ottawa. Robin Lehner continues to shine, 38 saves and 39 or 37 saves and 38, something like that. And in the first 10 minutes, he kind of held them in a little bit till they got their sea legs underneath them.
He was spectacular in the first period. 16 saves. And
we're not going to go back down the rabbit hole of talking about fan bases and things like that. We're going to stick to business and say that they certainly seem to play a lot freer tonight.
Yes.
You know,
the ankle weights are off the skates.
And they're still a long way from home, I think.
I think that this trade, which I think is a pure win for Vegas. I think.
We'll get to that later. Is the pieces of it, but I want to talk about how the play. I want to they still have. I think Kelly McCrimmon in the press conference said $33 million that could potentially go on LTIR. It's not all there yet, but
28.5 right now on LTIR.
I mean, that's staggering.
That's staggering. Actually, Vegas did move into first place tonight. Do you know where?
First
on the cap-friendly scoreboard.
Oh, okay. I was like, Vegas, wait, 5-5. What?
Vegas is 90 right now. They're currently $91.8 million in salary, which is over. It's exactly 10.5 over the cap limit.
10.3. Cap's 81.5.
10.3. I'm sorry, 10.3. That is insane.
So before we really delve into it, I know it. You know what? Screw it. Let's just get into it. But remind me that I want to talk about the fact that even when they all come back, if you subtract Alex Tuck and Peyton Krebs deal that they're still 4.4 million over the cap, all healthy. So we'll get a little bit into the next pieces of the puzzle that you got to know they're planning for, because in order for Eichel to skate in a regular season game, they're going to have to clear 4.4-ish million in cap space. But the deal, right? The deal got done. Last episode, you were saying you didn't want it. You didn't think it was going to happen. I sort of had to take the opposite side of it just for the sake of argument. And
I said I didn't want it to happen because the names that were being thrown about,
sure,
I didn't want to lose.
Sure. So here's the package: Alex Tuck, Peyton Krebs, a conditional protected first round pick in next year's draft. If it's inside the top 10, the Golden Knights keep the pick, and it becomes a 2023 first round pick, and a 2023 third round pick. Coming back is Jack Eichel and the Sabres 2023 third round pick. So it's done. We don't have to speculate about it. We don't have to hear a bunch of people's opinion that we don't really care about it. Did they win the trade?
Did they win the trade?
Did they win the trade?
Hands down.
Did they steal the trade to the same magnificence of Mark Stone to Ottawa for Brandstrom and a bag of donuts? Because that was pure robbery.
That was a Brinks. That was holding up the Brinks truck, the one with Ottawa. I mean, Tucker's got an upside, a pretty big upside, and Krebs is supposed to have a pretty big upside. But what's ironic is that tonight was the first time in their 5-year history that
you totally stole it. I know exactly where you're going. Played 100 games. You stole it.
That a draft pick played 100 games. The Vegas Golden Knights give out their draft picks, give away, I should say, like you give away candy on Halloween night when the kids ring the front doorbell. I mean, they never had a draft pick that they've held on to. Finally, Nick Hague finally got 100 games in. I mean, they've given away all their first round picks.
Well, let's not say given. Let's say that they traded.
They've leveraged.
Let's say they've leveraged potential against known entity. That's more fair. And I think all this goes back to the first year, and we haven't really talked about it a lot, but we have over a couple of episodes before. None of this happens. This course is completely uncharted because of the success of the first year. Exactly. Absolutely 100%. And I understand the Misfits were a phenomenon and an incredible sports story. But guess what, kids? Their name wasn't on the Stanley Cup. And you can hate George McPhee and you can hate Kelly McCrimmon, but you know what? Those guys continue to push and push and push and get the approval of Mr. Foley to spend the money and be the preeminent big game fisherman in the NHL with a never-ending bloodlust to get better and win. I mean, I understand the emotion of it, but this is a business, and they're here to win. And now they're very much on the clock because, as you so eloquently stated in our last episode, they're getting pretty top-heavy.
Yeah, we could call the Vegas Golden Knights Toronto West.
Yep.
And actually, before we came on, I looked at this thing. They have, between the two top lines, they have 51.2 million locked up in a top six forwards. And then when you add Robin Leonard's $5 million salary,
and Petrangelo's 8 something.
Well, yeah, and Petrangelo's 8. They have literally. I took some notes down here. They have to fill the rest of the roster after those guys. The average contract after those top 6 forwards, Petrangelo and Leonard, can only be no more than 1.69. So that's scary. that is very scary because you're not going to get a valuable forward, even a third line or fourth line forward for 1.69. You're going to have to hope that some of your entry level contracts start to blossom and pay off. I mean, because even next year, Whitecloud's entry level contract goes away and he got signed to a 2.6, I believe it was.
2.75.
2.75. So, you know, they are all in with aces. They're all in with aces now. We know in poker, aces doesn't always win. They're saying with aces, you either win a little bit or you lose a lot with pocket aces. The
Right.
Vegas Golden Knights may have, based upon Jack Eichel returning and being totally healthy, Stone and Pacioretty and the misfit line coming back, they might have the number one team on paper. Now, can they get over the hump? Because can Jack Eichel fix the power play, which today tied a franchise record of 0 for 19. And a lot of people didn't realize that their power play went 0 for 19 in their first year, which they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So if you think history repeats itself, okay, you're 0 for 19 in the power play. Doesn't mean you're not gonna get deep in the playoffs if you can get this fixed. Jack Eichel will help the power play, but when does Jack Eichel come back?
He's gonna more than help the power play.
But when does he come back, Eddie? That's the question. They might not be able to bring him back until the playoffs to circumvent the cap.
All right, well, let's get right into it. I don't know if you want to go right into predictions, but they have to. Riley Smith is gone.
Before the season ends?
If they want Eichel to play in the regular season,
yes, that's their out right there.
Riley Smith for a roll of tape, a couple of sticks at the deadline.
At the deadline,
gets them cap compliant.
Yes,
it's an expiring deal. They won't ship him to Arizona. You know, they'll do him a proper Viking funeral and probably send him to a contender in the East for a fourth and a fifth, or some, you know, like a Stasny-esque kind of deal or a Schmidt-esque kind of deal to clear the cap. But if depending on how he recovers and the timeline, he said 3 months. I love your enthusiasm, Jack. Welcome to Las Vegas, but let's just pump the brakes a little bit and make sure you're 100% healthy. But if the Golden Knights want him to play in the regular season, Riley Smith is gone at the trade deadline.
Right.
If they want to Kucherov him and have him skate and get stronger and get healthy and get acclimated to the system in practice, then all bets are off, and they're still probably going to lose Riley Smith in the offseason and maybe another salary. Braden McNabb is RFA at 2 point something or other, but there's more retooling. And
I don't think the McPhee and McCrimmon are looking beyond this year. They literally have pretty much stated, we're going to try to win the Stanley Cup this year, and then we'll figure out our salary cap issues over the summer. I think that's the. Do you
have a problem with that?
No, I don't know.
I mean, Mr. Foley said, "Win now, goddamn it!"
Yeah,
and he certainly backed his play with his wallet. You can't deny that.
Yep.
Right.
I just think. I'm sorry. I just think that this is their last move. This is their last checkmate. Well, if they don't get it now, they're going to be in trouble.
Listen, when these sorts of things happen, the R word, as the guys on the NHL Network so eloquently called it, will come into play at some point. At some point, there's going to have to be a rebuild, right? Pacioretty's only got this year and next, I think, on his deal.
Yes, 2 years left.
And he'll be 34 at the end of next season, maybe 33 or 34. So there are moves out there that I'm sure that they sort of put on their Ouija board for the future. me as a fan and an unemotionally engaged fan, just a fan of the team and wanting to see a winner in our hometown, I applaud them. To me, they got balls of solid steel. They're willing to continue to push the envelope. Shane Knighty was talking about it earlier. Well, or maybe it wasn't Shane Knighty. It was one of the TV guys was saying
it might have been Darren Millard.
That said, well, we did miss on Eric Carlson.
That was a good miss, by the way.
At 11.5 by 8, yeah, I'm going to call that a really, really good miss. But
that might have been their best move because everyone thought they were going for Carlson.
I believe they probably did. But you know what? This team, as built, when healthy, now you have Connor McDavid, you have Nathan McKinnon, two arguably of the top 5 centers in the league. You got the guy down in Florida, one in Boston. But let me tell you, right now, the Golden Knights, their first line could arguably, with all 3 of them being at full superpowers, they could be the best line in the line in the NHL.
Yeah, I agree.
Because now Stone doesn't need to be a point a game guy anymore. Could you imagine him just feeding those 2 snipers all day?
Actually, it's going to be Eichel that's going to probably be feeding Stone and Pacioretty. Eichel is probably the setup guy, right? He's the center. That's what. Yeah,
but he's also a pure scorer with a Pacioretty like cannon of a release from anywhere on the ice.
Now, I'm going to run this by you because you played defense at pretty high level in high school and all that. What do you think a defenseman is going to think when he steps on the ice and he sees Eichel, Pacioretty, and Stone coming down? He's going to be like, what the heck?
Let me quote the great philosopher Alex Petrangelo.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Boy. There's gonna be a lot of old boys at T-Mobile.
Yeah, because the fans here haven't really had a lot of chance to see Jack Eichel. And unless you're really a hockey guy, you know
he's in a small market. He's in a small market
on a
Buffalo,
terrible team.
And he put up a lot of points on a terrible team. What will he do with a lineup that he's going to be part of? That's pretty impressive up and down, at least with the first 6 forwards. It does drop off a little bit.
Listen, if you think dropping off a little bit is Chandler Stevenson,
I was just going to say
Dadonov and Nick Waugh on 3.
Well, when I say drop off, I'm talking about the level of skill in the first 6 forwards. And if you watch Chandler Stevenson tonight, his speed is just off the charts. He's just amazing.
I'm glad that we don't have to sign him again for a couple of years, because right now all he's doing is putting receipts in the cash register for his next check.
That might have been the Chandler Stevenson deal. Might have been the best draft pick that the Vegas Golden Knights gave away.
A fifth round.
And we know that in the NHL, in the history of draft picks, once you get past the 2nd round, the chances of a 3rd rounder actually cracking the lineup drops off dramatically. So when Vegas gives away these draft picks, everybody's up in arms. But when you think about it, the only draft pick that really is still shining that Vegas had is probably in Montreal with Nick Suzuki. Everyone else, Brandstrom, you don't hear from. Cody Glass has been sent down to the farm team, and even
they said Krebs is going to start in Albany.
Yeah, Krebs is going to start in the farm team for Buffalo.
I think that I admit that I didn't want Krebs to go in the deal because I think that he has the chance to be a legitimate top 6. But then when I read all not the local guys, when I read the national guys, and I read those posts where they go, 9 executives anonymously, score the Eichel trade. Most of them have Peyton Krebs as his high ceiling as 2C, and the comment is he always has had a little bit of trouble finishing. Now we've seen that a little bit, ourselves, but we only have 13 games, right? He had 4 before he broke his jaw last year and 9 before the trade. So I understand why Buffalo coveted him, and I'm disappointed to see him go. But as a results player, we got the best player in the trade. We have a proven commodity at 0.95 points per game. Again, stuck in Buffalo, playing with name 3 Sabres and I'll buy you a pizza. And when you put him in that lineup, in our lineup, I mean, this could be fireworks. There's no other way to say it. And for all those people who are disappointed that we're down to 5 misfits, and I'm sorry, but enjoy the parade, because they're certainly a lot closer to winning the Stanley Cup today than they were yesterday. And
I mean, there's still a lot of pieces to fit in here.
Yes,
but
100%.
And don't get too far ahead of yourself. Has the team become better because of the Eichel trade? 100%. But he still has to make a full recovery. I mean, this is a proven procedure. It's never been done on an NHL player. It's been done on MMA fighters and rugby players who are constantly using their neck.
Right.
So
that whole NHL player thing, I'm sorry. Listen, those rugby players, when they get in that scrum, just stop it. I understand it's never been done on an MMA player, but they've been doing artificial disc replacement in Europe for over 20 years. Over 20 years. America, and we're not going to politics, has traditionally been behind the cutting edge on medicine. And I'm sure that they're going to not let Jack Eichel have this operation done by Dr. Vinny Boombash in some back alley somewhere. I mean, he's going to go to the best doctor in the world who has done the most of these, who's going to minimize his return time and get him in the lineup. Eichel's talking about that he wants to play in the Olympics.
Eddie, by the way, you just froze. You were frozen for
You were frozen.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah. It's saying my internet connection is unstable. That's me. I'm unstable.
Yeah, I guess it was the Rodney Dangerfield reference that shook the internet. But listen, Jack, we're going to love you here in Vegas. Let's just skip the Olympics and get well. That's my only request. There's no need for you to go to Beijing. Just get healthy, get on the ice with our boys, and start filling up the net, and everything will be A-okay. And
did you see his Twitter feed? He already self-imposed himself with Vegas Golden Knight jersey with a stick raised.
Yep.
He's happy.
Well, I mean, I didn't check the weather before we turned on the recording, but I'm betting it wasn't 80 and sunny in Buffalo today.
No.
So
is it ever 80? Well, the question is it ever 80 and sunny in Buffalo?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not in November anyway.
So we're going to make a short episode of it. There was a hockey game. The Golden Knights bounced back after a very poor performance in Toronto with a solid 5-1 victory in Ottawa. They are off to the Bell Center to visit Nick Suzuki and the Montreal Canadiens Saturday night. And then they traveled to meet the mighty Red Wings in Detroit on Sunday night, a game in which I will be in attendance. And then they're back home. So we'll probably come back to you Monday of next week on an off day. Sorry, our brilliant idea for a contest didn't really go anywhere because the trade happened
too quickly.
Too quickly. but we'll come up with, maybe we'll have a contest to pick the date where Jack Eichel plays his first game as a Golden Knight.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll find some way to creatively involve you people who like and share and subscribe with those buttons that fly up. But in the lore of the 5 years of the Golden Knights franchise, I'm going to say this was a pretty good day and going to be a very important day. That's how I'm going to close. What do you think?
I agree. I concur. I don't like giving away draft picks, but we all know that draft picks are, trying to pick the ripest cherry out of a bowl of cherries, because you just never know.
So that's going to wrap up episode 3, the Eichel Effect. This will be up on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment, tell me how proud of me that I'm not swearing anymore that you are. Anything you want. Joe and I love to chat with people. We stir the pot on a number of Facebook groups. Anywhere you can find us, reach out and let us know that you've watched us. And if you have any questions, submit them, send us a message, and we'll take a shot at answering your questions as well.
Yep, we will.
So that's a wrap. Have a great weekend, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you Monday night.
Okay, go Knights, go.
Go.